Chapter 9. Falling Together. In love, I hope, and not off a cliff to our death? After the engagement announcement, I wasn't sure if things would change or go back to how they were. It was a fake engagement, after all. You just got smooched twice, girl. Even after what happened in the greenhouse, it didn't change that the engagement was just for show. And when he brought you back to your room... But the Fianchettos took their charade seriously. The first changes were minor. We had dinner with Caissa's father a few times, though it had been a while. It was awkward at best. I would never stop being fascinated by their relationship, or terrified of Karis. We exchanged almost no words either time. There were usually other guests as well. Caissa and I were always seated side by side, with Caissa always on his father's right side. Caissa was always stiff at those dinners, speaking in a quiet, respectful tone to his father or the others there. The cool, remote demeanor was back in those moments. There was a hard edge to his voice and expression when he spoke to other people at those dinners. But that would fall away when he leaned closer to speak to me. And he'd sometimes hold my hand on the top of the table. Look at her face. Whether to comfort me or show that we were indeed in a relationship, I wasn't sure. Once or twice I caught Karis watching us, icy eyes fixed on mine and Caissa's interlaced fingers. But the dinners with Karis weren't the only difference. My security detail also shifted. I had grown used to Carrie following me everywhere, but after the engagement announcement it was Carrie and June. At first I was curious, since June had previously guarded my room when I wasn't in it, but Carrie said Caissa had increased security throughout his wing, so there was no need for a guard outside my door. I'd asked her if 2 bodyguards were really needed. She shrugged and pointed out Karis had 2, sometimes 4. I didn't know if that made me feel better or worse. Of course, the biggest difference was with Caissa and myself. Though if I had to pinpoint the start of the change, it would be our trip to Chestershire, but the events from the night of the party were weighing on us both in the days that followed. If the trip to Chestershire was the start, the engagement announcement was the catalyst that forced us to acknowledge the growing feelings. And I didn't even have the ability to fight it anymore. I could barely remember that cold, distant man who first greeted me when I came to this place. Well, most of the time. In my current situation, I was having a few flashbacks. Yes.
You will not deter an attack if you only fight back with that level of force.
I'm trying! I struggled against his grip, keeping both of my hands tight on his forearm. I tried to pull away, but his grip was like iron.
I'm not denying that. I'm simply encouraging you to try harder.
The effortless way he spoke when I was panting for air was truly irritating. I twisted my body, cursing the strength of his stupid chokehold. It took far too much exertion to finally unravel the hold and shove myself away from him. I was sweaty, flushed, and extremely annoyed, mostly at myself for taking so long. That said, I was mollified at seeing that he had broken a sweat, no matter how calm he sounded.
Better. But the longer you take to get out of a hold like that, the more opportunity the assailant will have to tighten his grip or get you into another hold.
I'm aware of that, but you're stronger than me.
Anyone who attacks you is likely to be stronger than you as well. We can't always rely on Psy to get ourselves out of dangerous situations. You need to learn to do this.
I know.
Let's take a break for now, then try again.
I exhaled slowly and went to find my water on the other side of the room. Given how abysmal your attempt to kidnap me that day was, I'm surprised at how good you are at chokeholds. Should have just tried that instead of politely offering me a ride. Caissa froze, water bottle half lifted to his mouth. Poor Caissa.
You know, I truly was worried about you that day. You looked unwell. And I hope you realize your life was in danger on multiple fronts. Once it became known an awakening queen had been located.
You realize I'm teasing, don't you? He blew a quick puff of air from pursed lips. A pout, if I'd ever seen one. I took a long sip of water. Now that my Psi was making rapid improvements, Caissa decided it was time to focus on my physical self-defense. I still had Psi training, but it was like a dam had burst. Just like how a child learning to walk staggered around for a few weeks and was running before you realized it. I had done my stumbling and staggering, and now I was progressing at a dead run. It was a little terrifying how that happened, yet exhilarating as well.
Morgan.
Though he was right beside me, his voice was so soft I almost didn't hear him say my name.
You seem to be thinking hard about something.
I was just... Without warning, he took a step closer, causing me to back up to avoid him. My back hit the wall, and Caissa advanced further until I couldn't move from my spot. What? His expression was intense, eyes never leaving mine. My face heated up at the sight and feeling of him so close. Since the party, there had been a few moments where I expected him to kiss me again. He hadn't. He also looks kind of sad right now, so I don't think you're getting a kiss now either. Yet. Sometimes there was a strange tension in the air between us. Well, it wasn't strange, was it? It was the tension of unspoken feelings, and both of us being aware of it but too afraid to fully commit to them. I set a hand on his chest. He let out a ragged gasp and caught it, gripping it in his. His eyes dropped to my lips briefly, and he swallowed, his jaw tightening. I moved a little closer to him. Girl's bold. I like it. Yeah, there's something he wants to say that he's worried about, and I'm like, what is it?
We've been tracking that detective. The one from the party.
I stared at him, not knowing how to respond. I hadn't been expecting him to say that. It was almost funny, the awkwardness with which he spoke. That had definitely not been what he had been intending to say. And if it was an attempt to break the tension, it didn't quite work.
We wanted to know where he went after we threw him out. I suspected he wouldn't let it go. He clearly expected to find you at our manor. No one was going to come this far, then go home that easily.
And? What did you find out about him?
He's still snooping around Delphine and the court now. He's asking questions about you. Reuben Kellner, as you said, a special investigator from Utpol, and his partner Winter Ashton is with him. Did you really meet that man for the first time the day Endgame made their move?
Yes. I don't exactly have a reason to lie about that.
It's not that I think you're lying, but I don't understand.
I barely spoke to him that day, Caissa. I was a little annoyed because he was bothering me so early in the morning. He wanted to ask questions about Rory. I told him I didn't have time. I was supposed to go in later in the afternoon for an interview about that incident. I never made it in, as you can imagine.
That explains how he realized something had happened to you, even with my changing the records. But why is he so determined to find a woman he doesn't know?
I assume because he's a detective. That's what he does. His asking questions won't go anywhere, will it? Why are you so...
I don't like him asking questions about you. He has no reason to be so interested in what you're doing here. Utpol does not have jurisdiction in Delphine, so why is he even here?
I don't have an answer for you. I don't know why he would come all this way for me.
If I could somehow arrange for you to go back with him.
Oh my god, this is so Beauty and the Beast. Now he's offering to let her go. Oh gosh, my heart. And that's when you know he was really in love because he was willing to let her go. Damn. Damn. Got me. He got me.
Would you wish to go?
Was he saying he could arrange it? For a long time now, Caissa had made it clear he thought I'd reach a point where I could leave if I wanted. And now he was offering me the chance to do it right away. Had Reuben's presence made him worry I wanted to leave Delphine? Or did he see this as an opportunity for me? I'm not stubborn. I don't need to think about it. Look, feelings are mutual, man. I'm not leaving you. Don't worry. We're gonna overthrow your dad. We're gonna help out Delphine. It's gonna be great. Hey. Heart speeding up, I reached to touch Caissa's cheek. Haven't I made it obvious I want to stay here? Caissa shut his eyes, letting out a shaky sigh. He had been expecting me to say I wanted to leave, hadn't he? Caissa, I want to stay.
I thought perhaps you merely believed that's what I wanted to hear. You are a very kind person. I'm
not that kind. I wouldn't stay in a place I hated with people I hate because someone else wanted me to. I'm saying I want to stay because I want to stay. And for the record, part of me wants to go home too. I think that's natural. It's just that I want to stay here more than I want to leave.
Is that because you wish to help rebuild Chestershire? Or...
There is that. There's the fact that I don't want to join Endgame, and that's what's waiting for me if I go back. But do you really expect me to believe you aren't aware you're the main reason? He caught my hand and pressed a heated kiss to my palm. Damn this boy.
I'm sorry. I needed to be sure. I wanted to hear you say it. With that man here, I thought we could... It isn't about you being a queen rank, or because of my father. He could be an opportunity for you. I don't have the right to want you to stay, but...
Caissa. I made a quick decision and leaned up to press a hesitant kiss to his lips. He pressed forward, making a soft sound in his throat.
There's a part of me that severely questions your taste in men.
Me too.
You weren't supposed to agree with that.
My mistake. I've never been engaged to the heir of a vast criminal enterprise before. One who's exceptionally talented at chokeholds, but terrible at kidnapping people.
You...
He was trying his hardest to look exasperated and not amused, but was failing miserably. He let out a soft breath.
Perhaps I shouldn't have asked something like this so suddenly. With that man lurking around, I don't want to let you go. But I need you to know I am willing to if it's what you want.
I'm not going anywhere. Caissa leaned towards me, his eyes lingering on my lips. This time, his intention was obvious. Do you have a problem? I'm starting to think you're moonlighting as a rook and you're actually a bishop, because you have to have some kind of foresight to be able to perfectly interrupt every single time it's just getting good. Oh, Jack, I swear. Honestly, I'm up to over my head with this guy. I'm just like, by the time I get to your route, I'm not even gonna enjoy it. I'm not gonna enjoy it unless Caissa interrupts your route as much as you've been interrupting his. It's the only way to make it fair. Anyway.
Weren't the two of you supposed to be training?
The irritation on Caissa's face was almost comical as he moved away from me. A little slower than I expected.
Though, I guess that's a type of training too. But usually, best to not work on it in public. How amusing. You are truly a comedian. Perhaps you've missed your calling, Jack. I wonder about that same thing occasionally. But then I realize you'd be completely lost without me, and I'm confident I'm in the right place. We'll stop here for today, Morgan.
Oh? I thought we were going to keep going. Already tired of putting me in chokehold after chokehold and watching me try to escape?
Do you believe we'll get any real training done with Jack and his incessant quips?
Well, I guess not. But if we're stopping here, there was something else I wanted to talk to you about when we were done. If we're finished now, then...
What was it you wished to speak about?
Actually, I had some thoughts about things we can start doing to improve the slums around the court. I've been thinking about it a lot since our visit. With limited resources, it's likely to be tough to make any substantial differences. But my brother works in a settlement on Syrah, and they have power and resource limitations as well. I think we've read about Syrah. Fewer espers in Arcalis. They want to avoid regulations. Yeah, okay. Good. I don't know if you're aware, but there are a lot of issues with the supply feeds from the Triad. The colonists have had to learn to be self-sufficient in many ways. We might be able to apply some of their strategies in Chestershire. It won't exactly be the same thing as becoming independent, but if we can start implementing infrastructure improvements on a small scale, that's one step in the right direction.
It seems you've done some in-depth thinking about it.
You'll find that once I decide to do something, I put all my effort towards achieving the best possible results in the most efficient way possible.
I believe I have already noticed that about you, actually.
Well, it's one of my more noticeable good qualities.
I can think of a few others that are more noticeable than that.
Jack snorted into his hand, but Caissa ignored him, as did I.
However, you're right that I know little about Syrah. Delphine has no territory there, and I'm not sure how much access I even have to their systems with my current range. Though I confess it's not occurred to me to look until now.
I also wanted to talk to you about food supply in terms of agriculture. Chestershire is going to need a system of permacultures and hydroponic farms for growing food, one that extends beyond the upper districts. It may not be possible to implement anything large-scale for now, but we need to see what can be managed at a micro level with the current resources. Even if it's cobbled together from second-hand parts and leftovers, it could help improve the lives of people in individual neighborhoods and sectors. A steady food supply is important, and the more that can be produced within the city, the better. Based on the limited research I've done so far, water is less of an issue here than power, so hydroponics would be a better solution than relying entirely on synthesized food sources. Both my father and brother work in that area, so I can pull together some useful information from their experiences. But if you are serious about working towards independence for Chestershire, you can't only be focusing on governance. These sorts of things are important as well. Once you lose what little governmental support you have, you need something to fill the gap while you rebuild.
I can't deny that you're right. Why don't we both clean up and meet in my room? We can talk about it more there. Fascinating as all this is, your father asked to see you, Caissa. Seems he also has something to talk to you about. Then I'll go there first. I doubt it'll take long. In the meantime, Morgan, perhaps you should organize your ideas and write them down. You can also look into things a little more and research it a bit. It's easier for me to parse information that way.
I can get started on it right away.
Excellent. I look forward to our talk later.
I ended up being walked back to my room by Jack, who sent Carrie and June ahead, which told me he wanted to talk. And sure enough, as soon as they were out of earshot...
You and Kay are getting along pretty well these days.
I won't apologize for ruining your fun.
I swear, you've picked up all of Kay's worst traits. Isn't this the second time I've caught you?
You didn't catch us doing anything.
Oh? Definitely looked like something the other night.
I wasn't denying that part. Just the catching part. We weren't attempting to hide it, were we?
You jumped apart pretty fast.
I didn't jump anywhere.
You're nowhere near as much fun to tease as I expected you to be. I figured you'd start stammering the way Kay did.
It's not like I've never been seen kissing someone before.
Not sure I can say the same for Kay. Well, maybe not someone he actually cares for.
Good to know he frequently kisses people he doesn't care for.
Everyone needs a little warmth sometimes, Butterfly. jealous.
Do I have a reason to be jealous over people he doesn't care about?
You really are no fun to tease at all.
Sounds like you're jealous, Jack. That's all I'm hearing from this conversation.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Morgan?
Using her actual name. Oh, now we're having a serious discussion. Of course.
Were you happy in New Albion?
What?
Were you happy there?
Why was he asking me this? Especially right after Caissa asked if I wanted to go home. Have you and Caissa been talking about the Reuben situation?
Well, that's part of it, yeah.
Did Caissa tell you he's been worried about me wanting to go back?
He doesn't have to tell me that sort of thing. It's been written all over his face every time we talk about it.
And that's why you're asking if I was happy there? I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
Humor me.
I don't know, really. I was too busy to stop and think about if I was happy. The pressure to work hard was immense and, at times, crushing. And now, sometimes I can't even remember anymore how I felt about it. Rather than being happy, it was more like I was reaching for happiness that was somewhere ahead of me.
Somewhere on Dione or off-world? Maybe buried in some ruins somewhere?
Why are you asking this?
Let me tell you something about Delphine, Morgan. Life is too precious here for things like busy and not remembering. We don't even know if there is anything ahead of us, so all we have is right now. We hold on to every moment of happiness we have, reach for any warmth that's offered to us. We dwell there in that moment as long as possible, because tomorrow, it could be gone. People here are happy for as long as we can be happy. Caissa is like that too. When he finds something that makes him happy, he'll hold on to it. And believe me, there is precious little that makes him happy. People he loves are among them. But in your case, he's a little scared to try to hold on to you, I think. Scared he shouldn't. Scared he'll lose you. So that's why I'm telling you this, because he's not listening. Stop hesitating. Stop being afraid. And for the love of God, stop waiting as if you're going to find some clarity next week. If you have feelings for him, just go for it. If not to find some happiness, then do it because I'm sick to death of hearing him mope about you.
Wait, what?
I'm telling you, that dumbass is crazy about you.
Then he should tell me that himself.
I'm telling you as his best friend. Be glad I'm not giving you the, if you hurt him, I'll never forgive you speech instead.
I don't know what kind of person you think I am.
I think you're the kind of idiot who doesn't know what's good for you, which is why you're also crazy about him.
I'm not sure how to interpret you, of all people, calling me an idiot. And I'm not sure about taking dubious relationship advice from you.
It's not that dubious. I'm just saying, if you feel anything for him, stop waiting around and do something about it.
Did you give Caissa the same speech? He grinned and shrugged.
I'll let you take a wild guess on that one. Anyway, your stop is right there, so I'll let you go on ahead. Think about what I said, Butterfly.
I never expected to get that kind of advice from Jack. I realize, of course, that Caissa was hesitating as much as I was. There were so many uncertainties, so many things that made me waver. But there was a difference between standing still and proceeding with caution. Although, I would like to point out for the record that Jack wants them to acknowledge their feelings and move the relationship forward, and yet he has cock-blocked twice in like the last week. So he can't really complain by like, you should really just act on your feelings and jump on it when they're doing that or about to do that. And then he's like, hey, it's me, the main character, remember? but you guys should really do something about those feelings. Maybe we would if you'd stop interrupting every 5 seconds, Jack. Hey. Anyway, I'm done ranting. Maybe it was time to do the latter. For now, though, I had other things to do. Caissa wanted me to write up something regarding my ideas for Chestershire, and I wanted to have something put together before I saw him again. It's not like I'm doing it to avoid thinking about him. I mean, he had asked me to do it, but I was going to need to get some help first. Fortunately, I knew just who to ask. Carrie, my girl.
I found an article about the last Sierra conflict and how the colonists managed during the blockade.
That should be helpful. Send it to me. I was lying on my bed, propped on my elbows, and leaning over a display organizing information. I'd realized earlier that there had been a slight oversight on Caissa's part. With limited system access, I couldn't effectively research anything on my own if it wasn't in the books in my room already. June had found a handheld display for me to use, but there was a standing order I wasn't allowed a device without supervision. An order from Karis. He'd given it around the time I arrived and had never rescinded it. Carrie and June assured me they trusted me, but they couldn't disobey orders. Which was fine with me. It just meant I got to put them to work, which was satisfying in a way. June, found anything else on water recycling? He let out a soft groan.
This is tedious.
It can't be worse than standing out in the hall alone guarding an empty room.
I can at least read while I'm doing that.
Technically, you are reading now.
I can read things that are interesting. Things I can discuss with my wife after work.
This is interesting too. And helpful. The article you found about aeroponic solutions was quite insightful. Even if it's unrelated, the section about CO2 exposure got me considering another aspect of growing that we'll need to consider for overall improvements to air quality in Chestershire. The look on his face clearly told me what he thought about that revelation. I just laughed.
I would rather do about anything else than help with this kind of research.
Then tell your boss to give me back net access.
I'm certain my boss would be willing to do that if his father didn't have a problem with it.
I find it all interesting, to be honest. And I enjoy the break from simply guarding your room.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Since Mr. Caissa took over our training sessions, I haven't done much else.
I miss our training sessions. There were far fewer chokeholds involved.
Mr. Caissa is an adept teacher.
That's true. But it was one of the few times we got to talk.
I'm always right outside if you need someone to talk to.
I feel like I've been busy lately. Too busy for talking. That's why I'm glad to have you both helping with this. It feels a little more natural for me than things like training.
Even if that's true, I heard you've been making significant improvements in your use of Psi the last couple of weeks.
Hence, spending more time working on escaping chokeholds. She chuckled, amusement creeping into her voice.
You'll get the hang of it.
Give yourself a little Psi boost. If you've improved that much, that should be nothing for you.
Caissa has prohibited me from using Psi during our training sessions. He doesn't let me take the Psi inhibitor off. I had not informed him I was certain the Psi inhibitor wasn't inhibiting anything. I'd noticed it before, but I still wasn't good with my Psi at the time. And I thought, at first, it was only supposed to slightly suppress, not get rid of, my ability to use Psi. With the sudden wave of improvement, it had become much more apparent that the inhibitor just wasn't actually doing anything.
Find a way to get it off, then.
Isn't that cheating?
When you're in an actual fight, you use every tool at your disposal, even if it means cheating.
There's no such thing as cheating in a fight. What's the good of playing fair if it gets you killed?
Good point.
That said, training is supposed to help you learn not to rely on your Psi as a crutch. I'm sure that's the goal of keeping the Psi inhibitor on.
But dirty tricks are also a valid strategy, so my point remains.
I'll remember that for my next lesson. A notification popped up in my system and I set down the display as I opened it. A note from Jack? It said that Caissa was finished with his father and would be waiting for me in his room. Why is Jack sending it, though? Yeah. I sat up and stretched. It seems like Caissa is calling for me, so I guess we'll stop here for now.
Thank God.
It wasn't that bad.
It was that bad, Miss Leone.
I couldn't help but grin as I stood and slipped on my shoes. He might think so, but, well, I'd found it pretty fun. We made excellent progress, though. I'm sure Caissa will be pleased. I'll be sure to give you both credit for your contributions. It reminded me weirdly of a group project at university, except less frustrating. That was an odd thought, but one that made me smile nonetheless. I have a bad feeling about this meeting. I don't know. I got bad vibes. Ugh. The walk to Caissa's room was short as usual. I hesitated outside, setting my hand on the handle. It was unlocked, and Jack's message said to go inside, but it felt a little strange. I pushed it open, and when no one called for me to enter, stepped inside anyway, looking around. Running water? Jack, if you deliberately sent her here while he was in the shower, I swear. It was coming from the bathroom. To be honest, I expected Jack to be here too, but he was nowhere in sight. Caissa? I'm here. I wandered to the bathroom. The door was open, so I guess I assumed he was... Yeah, in the bathroom, doing bathroom business, Morgan? What did you assume? Oh, Lord. Is this the CG that Ash was warning me about that took out people? Am I about to be taken out by a Caissa CG? Oh, no. Pray for me. I don't know what I expected. I really should have realized. Well. Huh. Nice. Glad to see the tattoos from the back side. Speaking of backsides, this CG is cut off at a very good angle. Just at the right angle. But it wasn't until I stepped around the corner and saw him in the shower that it hit me. That's what the water was! Whoa, who could have guessed? I froze in place, eyes going wide. His back was to me, thankfully, but my eyes were glued to the tattoo that spanned the top of his back and arms. I'd seen glimpses of it during training, but this was my first time seeing the whole thing. And I shouldn't be seeing it, but I couldn't look away. I couldn't move. It was just so gorgeous. Are you looking at the tattoo still, or... His arm moved towards the shower controls, and that's when I finally realized I was basically peeping. I ducked away from the bathroom and crossed back towards the bedroom door, my face going flaming hot. Gah! Why did I look? I should have known that was his stupid shower. Why did he leave the door open? Why did I do that? I had half a mind to crawl back to my room in shame. Wait! He's seen me half undressed before. What am I freaking out over? It's just skin. Everyone has skin. But he wasn't spying on you. I didn't mean to spy on him either, though. But you stared for a good long minute. And not only at his tattoo. I knew it. I knew it, girl. I don't blame you, though. Why did he call me here if he was going to be in the shower? But you're assuming he did, and it wasn't Jack's fault. I froze again, glaring at the door. Yep, finally, she puts it together. Jack! I was going to murder him.
I thought I heard you come in.
I whirled around, heart in my throat and blood rushing in my ears at the sound of Caissa's voice. Well! Hello there! You with wet hair is interesting. Huh. A strangled groan of embarrassment escaped. My mouth went dry, and it felt like my tongue was glued to the roof of the mouth when I saw him standing there in a towel, still dripping. Why didn't you dry yourself properly? Why are you still dripping? I have so many questions. Oh God.
Is everything all right? You don't usually stop by unannounced.
My mind went blank. Go get dressed! He gave me a very amused look.
Oh? Bothered by this?
Yes!
You were much less concerned with me seeing you in almost as little.
That's different.
Because you weren't on the receiving end of an unexpected show.
Go put some clothes on.
You're the one who came inside without knocking. Why is this my fault?
I didn't! I mean, I did. Jack said, I'll leave.
Wait. We need to talk anyway. I was going to call for you. Though I'm almost offended you're so eager to get me covered up. You could at least be somewhat appreciative.
I am No! Just go get dressed. My God.
Very well.
He chuckled as he disappeared into the closet. I stayed right where I was so I didn't get any surprise glimpses. It wasn't like I'd never seen a man in a towel before, but I hadn't expected it this time. Jack's totally set me up, that jerk. I buried my face in my hands. I would never get that image out of my head, would I? Not that I wanted to. Heyo.
Morgan, I'm intrigued by the ideas you mentioned earlier. Have you had a chance to look into it?
I edged closer to the closet as he spoke to me from inside. There was a soft rustle of clothing as he got dressed. I'm just relieved this didn't go badly. I was convinced that Karis had called Caissa to say the engagement was off and this was going to be a very sad meeting. So I'm glad we just had shower shenanigans instead. That's fine. It struck me how strangely intimate this was. How comfortable he was with me being here. A little. I had to enlist some help from Carrie in June since my nanosystem is limited at the moment.
Ah, yes. I hadn't considered that. My father hasn't permitted me to lift your restrictions yet, and I still have concerns about you being tracked that way.
It's alright. We've managed so far, though I haven't compiled any of it into a readable format yet.
Some of what you mentioned sounds like it will need proper budgeting and project plans. There may be things we can list as official projects, though my father isn't impressed with my pity project in the slums. Charity work and anything for the betterment of society is good enough for the Fianchetto reputation. I can often get away with it.
I like that he's basically not wearing much more. He's just got pants on now. And his hair is, not dripping. He stepped out of the closet holding a shirt in one hand as he towel dried his hair. I did my best not to stare this time. I'll continue to work on it this evening and after our training session tomorrow.
I'm afraid there won't be a training session with me tomorrow.
He tossed the towel on the bed and turned my way.
My father is sending me away for a few days. A business trip of sorts. He's been lenient with my work, but I suppose that under the current circumstances, he's comfortable enough to send me out like this again.
How long is a few days?
At least 3. I'll be leaving Jack behind. He'll stick close to you while I'm gone.
If Jack stays here, who will go with you?
Veli and Rowan will be with me. No need to worry about that.
Of course I'm going to worry. And I have 2 bodyguards already, and you're giving me a 3rd?
Neither of whom is as strong as Jack. I'll feel much better if he's with you.
I don't think you need to worry about me that much. Caissa quickly closed the distance between us, taking my hand.
I can't stand the thought of something happening to you while I'm gone. If I'm not here, then I want the person I trust most to be here.
He pulled my palm to his cheek, holding it there.
Knowing you has made me so greedy. I used to have so few things I needed. A safe place to live, meals, clothes. The basics were fine. But after meeting you, there are so many things I need now. And want. I want to see your smile, to hear your voice. I need to know you're safe. I need to have you beside me. I
couldn't help but think about what Jack had told me earlier. I knew it was coming this time before our lips met, and I leaned into it so very, very aware of Caissa's warm skin pressing against me. His hands went to the back of my head, holding me firmly in place like he thought I'd try to escape. My mind, replaying the image of him in the shower, was wreaking havoc on my ability to make responsible decisions in that moment. Maybe Jack was right. Maybe I should stop worrying about all the details and try to live in this moment for as long as it lasted. Is this gonna be bedroom shenanigans times? Potential heads up for bedroom shenanigans times. I'm not sure if it's happening now, but it might be. I don't know if he would want to do that before he's gone for a few days or not, but I guess we're gonna find out. I let my hand stray to Caissa's chest, and he let out a soft whisper of a groan, his fingers twitching then tightening as he moved closer. I traced my fingertips down the contours of his torso. He flinched, and there was a light hitch in his breath. Something snapped. And my head was filled with the scent and feel of him as the kiss melted from gentle to ferocious. Like a beast. His hands moved to my back, pulling me against him as they slid under the hem of my shirt. I couldn't quite stop the little hiss of pleasure. Goosebumps rose under his heated touch, and my hands found their way to his hair. It was almost alarming how everything else vanished beneath the feeling of his lips on mine. His tongue traced a short line from mine to my jaw, and my eyes flew open at the heat of his breath on my neck. I had to bite my lip hard to stop that little moan from escaping. Ooh, that face, though. Oh, man. It had been way too long. Caissa's mouth traveled to the hollow of my throat, and I tipped my head back. His hands explored everywhere. My back, my rib cage, and hips, then moved to the hem of my shirt again. Cold air hit my stomach, replaced instantly by the heat of Caissa's hands. This time I couldn't stop the soft whimper before his lips covered mine for another frantic kiss. Then he pulled away abruptly, breathless, disheveled, his face flushed a bright pink that was creeping down his neck beneath that tattoo as well. He was glaring at a spot to my left. Hold on. I need to take a walk. I need to take a walk before I'm angry and I hurt somebody. And there's only me in this room, so I'm just gonna hurt myself. I have never, in all my years of playing visual novels, had to get up from my chair and walk around to calm down from anger at a character like I have in this moment. I am furious at this point. What is your problem? Why can you not wait one more turn? Why are you saying, like, oh, you should act on your feelings, you should do stuff, you should, seize the moment, let me interrupt every single time you're gonna make some freaking progress in this. Oh my lord. Goosefraba. I aged so many years in the last 20 seconds. Sorry about that. I'm a professional. This is fine. I just needed a few moments. Anyway, Jack, how are you? What do you want, my friend?
Jack, what do you want?
I realized he'd gotten a message of some kind. His voice was hoarse, breathing ragged as he dragged a hand through his hair. First, Jack sent me here, and now he was interrupting? Because that's all he does? That jerk?
Oh. Fine. Tell Father I'll be there in a moment.
Okay, I guess it's not technically Jack's fault, but still. He let out a slow breath and looked at me again.
He has lousy timing, as usual.
I think he's doing it on purpose, right? Caissa scoffed, pulling me to him again. The kiss this time was quite chaste compared to a minute ago, slow and regretful before he pulled away. Dang it.
I might believe it if his clairvoyant skills weren't utter rubbish.
He set his forehead against mine, breathing deeply.
you would tell me if you weren't okay with this.
If I wasn't okay with it, I'd have pushed you away after the very first time.
Good.
I kind of like that he checked with her, though. That's sweet. After a long moment, he moved away from me with a strangled, frustrated groan.
I should go. And I'm not sure whether I'll see you again before I leave.
I watched him tug his shirt on, having given up on not being obvious about it. I was still going to murder Jack, even if I absolutely appreciated the view. If he really wanted Caissa and I to act on this or whatever, this was not the way to go about ensuring we did. Thank you. Thank you. Caissa pushed his hair out of his face, then went to his night table.
And since you're here, I believe I owe you this.
Did he get the ring? Oh my lord! He had a small box in his hand, and I knew what it was right away. Wait, seriously?
The resizing took some time, but...
You know that's not what I mean.
It helps with the story my father's fabricated.
Caissa opened the box and presented it to me. It was simple. Pretty. A clear stone that might have been a diamond. I was joking when I said...
But you were right. If we want this to be believable, I think a ring is necessary. There are some already questioning whether this was simply my father trying to protect me. Sometimes feelings are immaterial to the rest of the family, but symbols matter. I can't show or prove feelings to them, but they can see the ring.
That's a logical approach, I suppose.
May I?
He took it out of the box and slipped it onto my finger.
It is oddly satisfying to see that.
Heat crept back up my neck as I laughed, hoping it didn't reveal how awkward this made me feel.
I'm coming.
There was a hint of irritability in his voice, and I figured Jack's messages were getting impatient.
I'm sorry to have to run like this.
It's all right. I'll get to work on that report.
I look forward to reading it.
He opened the door, and, to my surprise, didn't motion me out. He just stepped out into the hall and shut the door behind him, as if leaving me alone in his room was the most natural thing in the world. Stop, my heart. I stood there for a long time, both worried and elated for how rapidly things were changing. Not to mention Jack, that sly idiot. It was almost a relief Caissa was going to be gone a few days, because I couldn't imagine what else Jack had up his sleeve for getting us to move faster. Good grief. Something is seriously wrong with this place. And I was smiling like an idiot, so whatever it was must be contagious. It was several more minutes before I was calm enough to leave and head back to my room. And much longer before my head was clear enough to actually get to work on that report I'd promised Caissa.